So we talked about mounting and dismounting already. Now we're going to use that same strategy to get on the bike, but we're going to turn it on and turn it off. So we know what the controls are now and what all the buttons do. We know how to mount the bike. Now we're going to turn it on. So using the same strategy, kickstand's on the left, so I'm going to go ahead and squeeze the brake, mount it the way we talked about in the last lesson. And now that we're on the bike, now we can talk about how to turn it on. So from here, this is the first person perspective of what we're talking about. So we've got the red kill switch or engine shutoff switch right here. We've got the brake lever and the clutch lever. We're just identifying what these buttons are right now. The first thing we're going to do is take the kickstand, put it up, and then I'm balancing the bike right now with my thighs and my legs. You can see that with no hands, I'm just getting familiar with the weight of the bike. If it were to lean too far to one side, it gets really heavy, so you're trying to keep it as upright as possible. Now, for turning it on, the first thing that we're going to identify are our secondary controls to turn the bike on. So we've got the key in the bike right here. We're going to flip that to the on position. Everything is booting up. Now, immediately what I'm looking for is the neutral light. So what I'm looking at here is our green neutral here. If you have a bike with the gear indicator, it'll show that you're in neutral here. But most of the smaller CC bikes don't have gear indicators. So if you don't have that, what you're looking for is just a little green button that says you're in neutral. So we're going to identify that our engine shutoff switch is in the on position so that the bike can turn on. And now, just like a car, you've got the on, this is on. This button right here is our ignition. So best practice is to squeeze your clutch, squeeze your brake, just to make sure that the bike's not going anywhere. Even if you were to drop into gear accidentally, let's say your foot catches the shifter, you're not going to go anywhere. And then you're going to just turn it on. And it's as simple as that. And now that my feet are planted, nothing is next to my shifter to accidentally hit the shifter into gear. We're going to go ahead and release the front brake, release the clutch slowly, just to make sure, you know, you can get a false neutral where it says you're in neutral but you're actually in gear. So releasing that clutch lever is slowly, just to make sure that you're not in gear. And if you were in gear, this is what it would feel and sound like. And if you were to drop the clutch entirely and just, instead of coming off of it slow, it's going to lurch forward like that, and then the bike's going to turn itself off. And that's called stalling. The ignition's not going to work while you're in gear and not holding the clutch. So it's not going to turn on right now until I hold the clutch again and turn the bike back on. But if you want to let go of the clutch, make sure that you're in neutral. Ease off that clutch. Yep, we are in neutral. Good to go. And we can sit like this forever. Now, the next step on this is turning the bike off again. There are plenty of ways to turn the bike off. There's no best practice for it necessarily, but what I like to do is to just flip this red engine shutoff switch, because it builds the muscle memory that in an emergency, let's say like someone spills coffee in your throttle tube and it sticks overnight, and then while you're riding on the highway, you realize your throttle's stuck and you can't get it unstuck, so you just can't slow down. Just flipping that switch, it's a muscle memory thing. You can just flip the red switch, it turns off. Now, by doing that, your battery is still going to be running. Your key is still in the accessory position, so your bike is still going to be running off the battery. All your instrument cluster is going to be working. So another way to turn it off is to just flip the key. And that turns your battery off, turns the engine off, turns everything off. Either way of doing that is fine. However, if you were to flip the engine shutoff switch, make sure that you also turn your key off, so you can take your key with you when you leave. That'll make sure you don't drain your battery while you're gone. And now that the bike is off, we're going to remember what we learned from lesson 2 and just do the dismount process as well. So this is just mounting it backwards. So first things first, we're going to hold that brake, make sure that we are not going anywhere. We're going to grab our heel, pull that kickstand down, gently lean onto that kickstand. Make sure everything's nice and tight. Make sure it's not going anywhere. And then holding that front brake, we're just going to swing our right leg over. Everything's good to go. Check it out. Final check, and then release that brake. You can walk away.